Ready. Blast off. All right, guys, I'm up here again. All right, I'm up here again. I'm waiting for some people to come in. They can come in. We good to go. Let's see. It's up. I want to see. I want to view it on Facebook to make sure that I got it. Okay. All right. That's the view on Facebook. Let me see if I can share it. How do I share it again? I couldn't figure it out last time. Dang on it. All right. Anybody come in? All right. Ed is up. What's up, Ed? I don't even know how y'all seeing it, but it's good. Okay. I remember now. I was on Monster Panel. They gave me live. All right. So the live here is here. Let's go see the live. Oh yeah, guys, I'm waiting for some guests that have joined in or said they want to join in. So I'm in. So we test. I see you, Lindell. He's always in there. All right. So I'm going to these lives trying to get this quarantine panel going. All right. All right. Now I'm gonna turn that volume off. No. That's the wrong one. Dang. All right, Ed. I see you. Good look. Good look. Thank you, Ed. Oh, good. I see it on my page. It's on my page. That's what's up. It gave me a notification that I'm live. Amazing. All right. So yeah, I'm waiting for the guys to come in. Okay, I got them. I got them. All right, let's see how we do it. I'm adding. All right, what's good? Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, let's add Marcus Mason in.
What's going on?
All right, everybody's live. Everybody's live. All right, let's see how it looks. Can you all see us?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. All right. Good. All right. So, Mason, we just started talking online and this just popped off. So, can you do me a favor? I don't know if you know Marcus Roberts or if you guys know each other, but Mason, can you introduce yourself for the people that are checking us out and for us in general, so we can start it off?
Yeah, I'm Msaon Easly. I'm the artist creator of Legend of Azure. It's a webcomic series I've been doing for a few years. I've done work for a variety of companies. So I'm an illustrator. I'm a writer. I'm doing this comic thing for about 20 years now.
Damn, bro, you up there. You're as in the comics as Marcus has been reading, so that's pretty long.
Yeah, long time. Yeah.
Marcus, I'm going to keep it live. I can't be quarantined.
Hey, you got to be yourself, man. Do your thing.
My body is quarantined, but my mind is free. So, all right. So that's good. So you have current titles out now. So you consider yourself mostly a writer or illustrator? What's your strongest suit?
Yeah, I mean, kind of both. My comic series is actually my username right there. It's the website you can go to check it out. I used to be part of a publishing company that kind of went under, so I'm self-publishing now, and I'm self-publishing through the web. So, yep.
All right. So now, Marcus, I know you. Mason, do you know Marcus?
No. What's up, Marcus?
What's going on, Mason?
All right, cool.
Not much, man.
All right, Marcus, introduce yourself. And I guess I'll go third then.
All right. Well, I'm Marcus Roberts. I am a independent comic creator, also the publishing manager for Second Sight Studios your home for some of the best horror titles in independent comics.
Woo! I think he was waiting to say all of that. That's good.
Yeah, I've been practicing that. I'm also one of the moderators for the ICC group on Facebook, the Independent Creators Connection, and the administrator for ICC Anthologies. And I can't start naming all the pages. Creator of the Glyph Award nominated The Protector.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of what started it all. Once that started rolling, you got that Glyph Award. It was on X to the next. That's good. That's good.
Hey, it's all about using what you got to get what you want.
Yeah, man. We're in this fire time now where things are really happening for everybody. We're I guess growing as a genre. So there's a lot of things that are popping around. I guess before I go anywhere, I'm trying to find where I can see all the comments. Are you all watching on the app or are you watching on the page on the Monster Panel page?
I think I'm watching through the app, I think.
Okay. So yeah, when I looked at it before, I didn't get okay, here we go. I didn't get all right, good. I didn't get all the comments. Now I'm logged online and I'm getting comments. But that was important because that way people who are what do you call it? Watching us on Facebook, they can join in. So give you an idea. I started off making horror movies, and I got into writing that way. I produced a couple of horror movies, and the industry kind of was a challenge for me. And from there, I got into writing comic books to build off of my my film stories, and then I started writing novels based on scripts that I couldn't get produced or I wasn't producing because I kind of backed away from film. So now I'm coming back like full circle. I just finished shooting 2 movies in 1 week, 3 weeks ago now, right before the quarantines. I've been producing a couple of comic books that are all horror. I even got a story with Marcus coming out. So it's a horror story. Horror has really been just easy for me as a filmmaker, and it's something that I enjoy. So that's pretty much it. And then my collection of stories, Horror Streets, came out in 2018, and it's been selling like hotcakes. I went into reprinting full size, and I'm loving that. So all that said, right? I had tried to get some female energy on this panel, but this is like a pre-panel. So, this isn't the end of it, guys. But this was the on the encouragement of Marcus, who was like, yo, other people is doing it. We need to do it. Let's get it done. So that's
mess around, man. I don't mess around.
Man. Trust me, I'm straight hustler too. I'm sharing this in the Black Sci-Fi group. I'm sharing this in what do you call it? State of Black Science Fiction. So like all of our people can see us and what we're trying to do. So we don't have no problems with any of that.
Right, right.
And just kind of keep it going, kind of keep the energy live. So Marcus, I know I challenged you to come up with what you want to talk about. So why don't you tell me what you got? What were you thinking about? I know we're talking about horror comics, and this is sort of like a warm-up panel. So we are going to try to do this more formalized again with some of the people that you suggested. So Mason, let's respond to Marcus's question, and then the subject that you and I were talking about, we'll do that right afterwards. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So Marcus, what's the question that you were hitting off with first? What was you were thinking about?
Oh, my thoughts are, because of this situation we're in with this pandemic.
Okay.
I'm thinking along the lines, or wondering if other people are thinking along these lines, that we are in the process of being culled, 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 and that comes from when there's too many cattle in the herd has to be thinned out. So the herdsmen come through and cull the herd, taking out the older ones, the weaker ones, the ones that just aren't up to snuff. So
Okay.
I'm thinking we are going through a worldwide culling. And I'm wondering, what are my other horror and sci-fi creators' thoughts on that?
I Mason, you want to hit it first?
Well, I think in the process of human history, there's always going to be a pandemic that wipes out a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, it could be a culling of older people, because this virus tends to affect older people more than younger populations. So I mean, it could be. I mean, I don't know if it's intentional, but I definitely think in nature, every few decades, there's a massive pandemic that wipes out a lot of people. Happens all the time, and this is probably just one of them. I was watching the president yesterday, unfortunately, and he was talking about like 100,000 people dying would be okay. That's insane.
That's crazy.
Like, so if that's okay, like 100,000 people dying is okay. Like, what's not okay? Like 1 million people dying, 2 million people. Because he has information that we don't have. So if their best case scenario is 100,000 people dying, what's their worst case scenario? 2 million, 3 million, 5 million. I mean, and like in America alone, that's insane. I mean, that's more than every war that we've ever fought combined. World War II, World War I, Civil War, Vietnam. Every war combined, we never lost 5 million Americans, especially in the space of like 5 or 6 months. That's insane. So I mean, and in raw terms, yeah, you could definitely call it a calling. I wouldn't say it's intentional. It's just nature. But with the guy we got up top, the guy in charge, he's a moron. So I mean, as bad as it could be, he's going to make it worse. So.
And where are you based out of, Mason?
Columbus, Ohio. So,
okay. And Marcus, where are you?
I'm in Lakeland, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah, so Florida, man. Good luck to you guys, man, because your governor's a moron too.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I mean, even Kennedy.
And I'm down here in Miami.
Yeah. Whew. Sorry, brothers.
That's all right. I call it the North Caribbean. I've been writing a post-apocalyptic series called The Harlem Shake for about 3 or 4 years now. I'm about to get into book 4, and I've already passed like what caused the apocalypse. So I'm into the full out, land of the lost type, apocalyptic experience. But I still like to post a lot of conspiracy theories. And as much as I like to go with the M. Night Shyamalan, the Happening type conspiracy that you outlined, Marcus, I still would say kind of all bets are off. You know what I'm saying? I've been looking at the conspiracy about, it being a bioweapon. And that's kind of the one that I feel is probably the closest one to that I believe. Shout out to Stan Neron and Timberlane, Tamerlane, the villain. They're in the house. But the reason why I say that is because and Paige just got in, is because they outlined it as it almost was a mistake. Like they were doing, I don't know if you saw this little video. It was really good produced 15-minute documentary, right? And it outlined how it got the virus got out in Wuhan, and the virus was supposed to be being transmitted as a bioweapon to American officials, and it got out. And I think that that's crazy, but that's the closest thing that I believe, because I don't know if it's nature. You know what I'm saying? They tried to say that with Ebola. They tried to say that with SARS. And I'm, I don't know. I don't know.
I
Let's
believe
go
it's
back. What else
nature.
you got, Marcus?
I believe it's nature mainly because what we have to look at the composition of what they are calling the coronavirus. It's not just one thing, but it's actually a combination of naturally occurring viruses that have come together to make a supervirus. We've experienced this before with West Nile. The West Nile virus was not just one thing, but it actually was a combination of viruses that occurred in nature that joined together to make a stronger virus. So if I had any conspiracy theory, I'd have to go back to nature trying to kill us. Because nature is very effective, and this is what we tend to overlook. Yeah. If the virus doesn't get us, there are tsunamis, there are volcanoes, there are hurricanes, there are tornadoes. Nature is our greatest nemesis.
Oh yeah.
And this is just another one of nature's ways of thinning the herd of the culling. Because we see how it affects older people. Older people now in 2020 are living longer than they ever have at any point in history because of improvements in medicine and science.
Is that because of us just being recorded? I mean, I'm not going to take the Bible as a literal historical book, but there are stories about people living longer than 100. I mean, what do we have? Our average age is what, 70? So I think that's Googleable. That's something that's Googleable. Mason, jump in. What is your response? Are you running with the nature thing? Are you entertaining any other? Can we call that a conspiracy theory, Marcus? It is the planet. So we'll call that, for all intents and purposes, a conspiracy theory that it was nature. Well, Mason, what are you running with, Mason?
Well, for me, I'm a student of history. I've studied prehistory, and there's been 6 mass extinctions in Earth's history since the planet's 4 billion years old, if you believe science. And in that time, there's been 6 mass extinctions. So, like Marcus said, nature is always trying to take out life on the planet. And humanity itself, if you look at, humanity as a whole, there's 7 billion of us on the planet. That's not a natural occurrence. That's us surviving nature and using technology to expand around the globe. No other animal does that. So there's 2 things at play. First off, there's 7 billion humans all over the planet, not using nature to survive off of. And 2, we're actually, in terms of genetics, we're actually very narrow genetically, because 70,000 years ago there was a massive eruption in Toba. It's called the Toba incident. And so 70,000 years ago, there was a massive eruption, and that wiped out almost all life on Earth. And humans barely survived. We're descended from that one group of people who survived that eruption, and we spread out again. So in terms of genetics, we're actually very narrow genetically. So it won't take much for something to come along and wipe us out, whether that be a virus, whether that be like a bacterial disease, whether that be something else. I mean, that's just scientific fact and nature at play. So something like a virus like this, because viruses mutate and jump all the time. This probably came from a bat or some other mammal, because coronavirus is very common in bats and cats and other animals. Somebody probably ate a bat or ate something or was around an animal like that, and the virus mutated and jumped and got into humans. And we have no natural immunity to that, and it spread like wildfire. Because again, our genetics are very narrow. We live in a very global environment, so it won't take long for things to spread out around the entire world. And now, we're in a situation that we're in now. And I hate to tell you guys this, but it's going to happen again and again and again.
Wow. Mason, you are my new best friend. My new best friend.
Well, Mason, let me throw this out. I have to kind of introduce myself like this, or I have to start introducing myself like this all the time. And Marcus probably will appreciate this if I had introduced myself like this a while ago. But I'm a Gemini, right? so you already kind of know where I'm going, right, Marcus? um, I argue with myself so much that I kind of understand different sides of an argument, right? So sometimes I like to compile those and bring those together. And so I would say, all right, so let's take the nature um, conspiracy theory that you both embrace. Um, is human error natural? Is human error capable of being provoked by nature? Is human error inevitable? And is it possible that the two conspiracy theories, the one that I embrace of human error and the developed biological weapon being fumbled, be a force of nature that could have spread that out? Or is that possible? Because
Yeah, it's possible.
because when you look at the disease, Marcus, yes, it did come. Things do happen naturally, right? But it didn't happen in India because India is not experimenting with biological weapons. It didn't come out of a field in Africa where they have a lot of people, right? Heavily populated areas. It came out of Wuhan, where they have a facility built towards these type of diseases. It didn't happen as a hurricane or a flood. You understand what I'm saying? Like in prior disasters, and maybe Mason, you could give us examples of all of those prior earthly cleansings, right? But it didn't happen that way. It happened through a scientific or if you were to go back and say, let's be a global CSI, right? We can trace the human role in this virus. So we know that humans played a role in this virus, especially if we can say the containment of the virus. So maybe it was a natural virus, right? Maybe it's not like syphilis, right? Maybe it's not like the Black Plague. But what we do also know is evident with America, and there's this video coming out of what's the Czech Republic, where they're making people come out of their houses with masks. We are all in a quarantine that was started 2 weeks late. Even if the virus, right, was a man-made cleansing, this one particular virus was stoppable. What do you guys say about that? Who goes first?
Well, I'll hop in.
All right, good.
There's a thing there is this thing we embrace called Murphy's Law. Anything that could happen will happen. And in this instance, I would say this is nature taking advantage of Murphy's Law. You mentioned human error. So human error is something that we actually expect. We expect for humans to be infallible. So that's why we try to come up with protocols and different measures in case accidents happen.
Right.
Nature does not respect protocols. It doesn't care what you do. It will take advantage of that Murphy's Law, that anything that can happen will happen. And in the case of human error, nature taking advantage of that. Okay, this person or however the virus got from its container, nature then carried it on throughout the rest of the population and throughout the rest of the world. They could have maybe contained the virus at the point of the spill, if that is what happened, but because of Murphy's Law. And Murphy's Law gets you every time because you have no defense against that. I don't know who Murphy was, and I don't know why he made this law, but you have no defense against Murphy's Law. Anything that could happen will happen.
Okay, so you can see the whoa, which one did I do? Okay. All right. Dang, Marcus. So can y'all hear me? My mic.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I can hear y'all again. All right. So you're sort of seeing a little bit of what I just said, in terms of emerging between the two, but still making Murphy's Law sort of something that's beyond scientific explanation, right? You're
Right.
saying Murphy Law is scientifically not provable, but it's something that you're accepting. All right. One of my other brothers joined in, Captain Keith Wade, out of his little fortress. Mason, before you respond to my hypothesis, somebody got their music up. Okay, turn your mic down because we can hear the echo. Keith, brothers joined in.
What's
Keith,
up, bro?
all right, I'm sorry, Captain Wade. Sorry to blow the alias.
That's all right. That's all right, man. You can say my whole government, man. It's all good.
All right. This is a test broadcast because Marcus encouraged me to join in on other panels and try to bring in the monster panel to the new generation of quarantine technology.
I understand.
So,
It's great, man.
so can you introduce yourself? And I know you've been active on the thread. So before we go to your comment, tell everybody who you are.
My name is Captain Keith C. Wade. I am the host of Sci-Fi Saturdays here. I am a professor of theater, actor, writer, and director in the industry for about 35 years now. I am the writer and creator of A Warrior's Path Alpha, Afrofuturism. I'm an Afrofuturist myself.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And I would say, jokingly, I already know you got cast in Medea's Quarantine. All right. So, Keith, we outlined two kind of conspiracies of this virus that we're going on. And I just wanted to get your opinion. I know you heard what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Give us what your thoughts are. Do you think it is, nature, right? Is it another prophecy or global cleansing like Mason has described so eloquently, I would add? Or do you think it is man-made error like what I believe? Or do you think it's a blend? Marcus just accepted my proposal, my friendly amendment, that it is a blend, but he still falls back on Murphy's Law. What do you think?
I probably have to really disagree with these really honorable brothers, man.
Which
And
one? Oh, shoot.
Both everybody, because I definitely believe that this is a man-made situation. There's too much evidence to the contrary that adds to the fact that this is a man-made disease, contagion, a bio threat. There's been series, I think actually out of Korea as recently as 2013 that specifically called this corona and detailed a whole bunch of different things in regards to its transmission, the fact there was a respiratory disease. It looked like it had been written yesterday, but it was actually written in 2013. And
that's on the internet, or you get that through Messenger?
Yeah, somebody sent it through Messenger. I was actually just looking for it before I chimed in, but I was like, you know what, let me just log in here and just begin to bring this up. Okay.
All right. So Mason, it was your turn. Then I go, and then back to you, Marcus. So Mason, hit it up. What do you think? Keith, now we got 2-2. All right. Keith believes it's man-made. I'm man-made. And let's beat this. And then we had another topic that Mason and I was talking about. And Marcus and Keith, Captain Keith, you're welcome to join in on that. So Mason, this is the last round on what do we think caused this virus. So respond to what you've heard so far.
Yeah, I mean, I know people that might think it's man-made, but you guys have to remember the coronavirus family is billions of years old. It's been around for forever, pretty much. I mean, it's an actually
family of diseases, right?
Sorry, what?
Family of respiratory diseases.
Absolutely, right? Yeah. Okay. It's like the flu. It's like other virus, and it's been around for forever, pretty much. And like I said before, viruses mutate, viruses change. and that's just a fact.
Okay.
Now, beyond that, I mean, I'm not going to take out of realm a possibility that this could be man-made. I mean, people do dumb stuff all the time, and I could totally see a government creating a super virus, trying to wipe somebody out, and it backfires on them. But I just don't see that happening in this particular case. It's just there's too many factors that play to the point that this is a natural occurrence than showing that it's a man-made bioweapon. Hopefully we'll get a vaccine soon, but I mean it's going to be catastrophic until that happens. But this isn't something that hasn't happened before. I mean, we had the Spanish flu 100 years ago, and that took out millions of people right after World War I. And again, the perfect circumstances. You had a world that had just went through a massive conflict. You had people who were already wounded and dead from World War I, and you had a more global you have more global communication with people from other parts of the world. So that's a perfect petri dish for a massive global pandemic. And we're in the same situation with this Wuhan virus. But before that, we had SARS, we had MERS, we had H1N1. I mean, so this is something that doesn't happen. It's not rare, and it's not something that just doesn't happen. Happens all the time. This one just happened to be the one that got out of the bag, and it's affecting us more directly than the previous outbreaks have.
Okay. My last little comment on it, and I know I threw out the merger of the two theories, is here's my last pitch to the nature people, is I don't think man can create anything that's not natural, right? We're not gods. But what we do have the ability is to mess up the natural order of things. And we can manipulate these viruses. We can hybrid them. We can make look at all the different types of dogs that we have. We can't make a dog, but we can manipulate a dog. In the same way, we can make different types of dogs is probably the same way we can do that to viruses. So that's just my feeling, because in my heart, the God concept that I embrace would not do this way.
Why not? He flooded the world.
The whole world didn't get flooded, and that's a fairy tale. So I don't believe that as fact.
The whole world did get flooded.
We had certain ice ages, no doubt. But in the Noah story, I'm not accepting that. I think there's a metaphorical message behind it that I embrace, but in terms of factually happened literally, I'm not going to accept that. Possibly my science fiction writer element of it, that's probably why I don't. But my last question on this subject, guys, and this is to move forward, is, and we can start with you, Marcus, because you really want to say something too, where do you think this is going to go? How bad is it going to go? Is it going to go like an ice age? Is it going to flood the world like the story in the Bible? Mason, is it going to kill 1 million people like the Spanish flu did? I don't know how many died in the Black Plague. You know what I'm saying? So how far do we see it going to go? And then what I'll do is it'll go Marcus, Captain Wade, and then you, Mason. And then when you answer, you take us to your the next question we were talking about, why Black people, that question.
Okay, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned the Black Plague, and that one of the major things that came out of the Black Plague, besides
let's not call it the Black Plague.
Besides
the European plague.
The European plague. Besides the expression "saved by the bell," it really made your medical personnel focus on trying to determine death. Because with the illness would affect you to a point where it was like you almost died. So they would bury you, but they were burying people alive. So in order to prevent that, they would tie strings on the bodies, run the strings up out of the ground through a tube and attach a bell to it. And then the loved ones would sit in the graveyard and listen to see if the bell would ring. That way they knew whether or not they buried a person alive. So one of the big changes that came out of that was medicine finding better ways to do a death determination. So having said that, I believe the end of this is going to be medicine trying to find a way to improve our immune system to become more resistant to nature's viruses, because nature's viruses aren't going anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Captain Wade.
Again, we're talking about the European plague, and I think this, at least historically, could be compared to it. And the only reason why the European plague didn't affect the globe the way this plague has is because of our instant travel. We had somebody in China who got on a plane, and within hours was in Europe, and that person was then in hours in America, and so on and so forth. So the European plague would have affected as many people if it were, if they had the technology that we had to this day. I think I'm hoping that we can contain this. My hope, the reason why I say that it's a man-made disease is that my hope is that they already have a vaccine. My hope is that they already have methods and processes to contain this, and this is their, I want to say, population control scheme. And after a little while, they'll put it back in place. Like, okay, we've had enough. We've met our goals. Let's go ahead and distribute the vaccine. Now, the vaccine itself, kind of like in The Walking Dead, we don't know what that's going to do as well. So I'm praying that it doesn't get to the million death threshold, and if it does, that's where they'll cut it off.
All right. Before we go to Mason, shout out to my daughter-in-law, Stacy. She's checking it out. And Tamerlane also chimed in with the bubonic plague as a reference. You don't think about that one. I know, Mason, you probably remember that. And my man, William Hitachi from the Genesis Blog Talk Radio show, he mentioned the incubation period, and I think that is kind of what you were referring to, Keith. That's a separate factor that needs to be mentioned, because that's what catches Donald Trump off guard, is that the incubation period is what's killing us. People time is like, oh, I don't see nobody sick. People have died. Then 100 died. 200 died in New York. And this is the 2 weeks that people had where they was walking around contagious, and now the people are in their 8-day period where it's hitting you hard. This is the period where you crawl into the bathroom, where you can't go, you can't breathe. This is the period that they need the what's the breathers? What is it called? Respirators. All right. So Mason, your comment, and then take us to the next question.
Well, yeah, again, in my opinion, I think it's natural. But I mean, again, if it comes out 20 years from now that it was man-made, I wouldn't be surprised. So, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like I said, I'm a student of history, and from what I know, history has always been pretty messed up. We live in a pretty comfortable time now, but I mean, you go back 100 years, people were living pretty rough. Just recently, we got to a point where we can live comfortable lives. We can live a long time. We can get good medical care, things like that. 100 years ago, people weren't living like that. People were dying at 30. You have like 5 kids because half of them would be dead. So I think that we live in a time in history where we think that something bad happens, something somebody created or somebody did something. Where in reality, I mean, we just happen to live in a very comfortable time versus people in the past. So something to consider. But as for the question, which question in particular?
The new question. we were talking, Marcus, we've talked about this before also, and Keith, you're a Monster Panel veteran. I think you even talk about this on Sci-Fi Saturdays. We're in the post-Black Panther era, right? And we'll even multiply that. We're post-Black Panther, we're post-Get Out, and we're post The Watchmen that just came out in December. But my post was, and I post a lot of wild things, so don't even contain me. Was there are still Black creators in the mainstream and independent feel that they will compromise their audience if they do a story that doesn't have white people in it. That they have to have a white cast or a white lead, or it can't be all Black, or God forbid they go into a Black fear like in Get Out, or they go into Black frustration, probably like the way it was in Watchmen. You know what I'm saying? I always joke and say, I don't know too many Black books where killing Ku Klux Klan or white supremacists are like the main storyline. So, Mason, you had your comment on that, and that was pretty much the subject of the post.
Yeah.
So, Mason, maybe you can make your comment first, and then Marcus or Captain Wade, whichever one wants to chime in next, and we can talk about that, and then we can probably get out of here because I don't know how long they're going to give us on this new platform Marcus represented.
Now, the original question that you had was they're afraid to offend.
Right. To offend and compromise their audience.
Gotcha. So, and so my response to that was that obviously you don't want to offend potential customers to your product because, I mean, for better or worse, the wide audience is 68% of a potential audience if you're coming out of America. So, I mean, I think that you can still have your truth, you can still tell your story, but I wouldn't purposely attempt to offend anybody in order to sell a book. You have to now obviously, stories are going to offend people. Roots offended a lot of people, but again, Roots was the truth. Roots is the story of slavery in America. Sorry, whether you like it or not, it happened. It's the truth. But I think when you're like writing works of fiction, you have a bit more leeway. So, do I have to tell a story where, the white man's always evil or always bad? No, I don't have to do that. I can be
Jeff does
about my story. Like, for example, A Bitter Root, for example. A great story. All Black cast. They're monster hunters who fight demons. You also have them be racist and, post-Confederate, whatever. And some of them are Klansmen. Great concept.
Shout out to David Walker, by the way.
Yeah, amazing concept. And, you're still telling your truth, but you're not going your way to offend a white audience. Now, obviously, some white folks are going to be offended by that. But, I mean, not your typical white person. They're going to say, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great concept. And guess what? Now you have a reader, and because that's the goal is to get a reader. You have a reader who likes your concept. They're reading a story with all Black characters, and you're telling your truth. You're telling your story without going out of your way to, immediately knock out a large portion of the American audience. Again, for better or worse.
Marcus, Captain Wade, who's next? I'll go third because now I remember my comments. So thank you, Mason. Marcus, Captain Wade, you have a comment on that subject?
Well, as far as being offensive in your works, as Mason said, we live in a society where, irrespective of what you do, someone is going to take offense.
Yeah.
I mean, we have purposely made society this way. We have purposely made society, whereas we are sensitive to various things. The thing is, personally, people take their sensitivity to another level when they bring in hate and things of that nature. I can be as offended as I want to about anything, but when I actually take my offense and turn my offense into some type of hate, into some type of physical threat or physical action because I have been thus offended, that's where I'm wrong. It's like I used to tell my kids, you can get mad all you want to. It's just you still have to be respectful in your anger. And society tends to tell people you can get mad and be disrespectful. That's why with protesters and the violence you see with protesters or against protesters, because protesters are offended about something. That's why they're protesting. People are offended by protesters. So
Right.
they
You're gonna
attack
offend
the protesters.
Exactly.
Okay.
And
Before you go, Keith, let me just shout out a couple of people that's in the watch party. Celine, star of Cutout, the movie that's about to come out. Um, my my niece Nicole, she's in here. Ashton, Baptiste, and Love Jerron is in here. We see you. All right, Keith. And Sandy Turner, one of my friends from high school. She's checking it out. So Keith, what is your response to it?
Yeah, I saw that post, man. I was like, what is he talking about, dude? What is, man, Jeff on this thing again, dog. But
Yes, yes.
you know, the way I look at it is, man, and I've actually had experience with this. I'm a sci-fi writer. My book, A Warrior's Path, is set 375 years in the future in Africa.
Okay.
So within that, I have a white character that's the best friend of the main character. And so folks were like, "Oh, you just throwing a white character in there just to keep it, keep your other readers." And I found that offensive because my best friend is white. I'm just speaking my truth. Like
Right.
my best friend is white. One of my best friends is white. And then when we did the film version of it, I put Debbie Gibson up in it. And they're like, the whitest woman in America, you put in this black science. I was like, no, I just happen to love Debbie Gibson. And she's a friend of mine. So I put her in the movie. So it's just, you have to write your truth regardless to what somebody thinks about it. Two of my role models in this industry are Spike Lee and George Lucas. And so I like to think I was a combination of those two entities. And George, he don't give a care about what you think about Star Wars. He gonna write what he want to write.
Right.
And then, Spike has made some great movies like He Got Game and Malcolm X, but then he did some really bad ones, like The Sweet Blood of Jesus and the other ones, man. I love but he made some really bad movies. So he didn't care. He wrote his truth. He wrote what he wanted to write. So, man, they're going to find a reason to be offended by anything. You just got to write the truth.
That's right.
Okay. So now Mason had reminded me, and I thank you guys all for your comments on it. Kind of what I was getting at, and I'm very transparent with my Facebook page, even my Instagram and my YouTube. I'm down here by myself already. Feel alone away from my childhood and college buddies, and I made some new good friends down here. So I just put everything out there on Facebook. And I ran into a conversation with a gentleman, independent comic book creator, and he was commenting on another story, and he just felt, it's not something that he felt was a good move. Why is your story so black? And it's like you said, Keith, and even how you were getting into it, Marcus. Yeah, you got to write your truth, right? But on the other side of writing your truth, you do want to be successful, right? So there's an element of you that in your creative freedom, you embrace the commercial success in the commercial community. And my first best friend was white. Now I've had a whole lot of other friends since then, and we're still friends, but he's not one of my best friends like right now. But that I grew up integrated. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
However, since then I've grown, changed, made a lot of other people, and I've had other experiences. So for me, when I look at things, I was like, you know what? I felt embarrassed that Watchmen came up with a hooded justice character. And I felt that, man, a black person could have created Wakanda. And we may have created Wakandas, right? Maybe they just weren't as successful. Maybe they weren't as embraced. But I was like, dang, where are we going to embrace or create something like that? Now, we've created Wakandas. You know, we've got a whole bunch of black science fiction writers. And there's a lot of black writers that do take on those things. Of course, Keith, you know, I know your stories. You know what I'm saying? So we all are a testament to that. But I still wait for the day when, you know, we'll have demonized the Ku Klux Klan in our story the way that everybody's demonized, not everybody, the way Jewish filmmakers demonized the Nazis. And so as much as those are niche experiences, right? We still have no problem saying this is a movie that everybody can enjoy. Even those people in faraway places like South America or Uganda or India that had really little experience with what was going on in Nazi Germany. You know what I'm saying? They have no apologies of doing it and still feel it is for everybody. I feel the same way. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I feel. My other point to Mason was I actually don't think it's a compromise commercially. Let me tell you why. Some of the most blackest gangsters stories in street lit, Donald Goins and all of these urban authors, some of the rap records that have some of the most gangsterous black only storylines are embraced by white people all over the country.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think we don't have to deal with black rage per se, but even black rage is understandable. What was Ice-T's Pop Killer, right?
Yeah.
I never bought that record, right? But I'm East Coast at that point. But so many white people bought it. It outsold pro-black records. And that was a record with the subject was a black rage, black frustrational theme. So I don't know. I think they can identify with our frustration in ways that we don't, some of us may not think we do. So that was the point of the post, Keith, you know, was that I see a lot of us, I see it in your work, Marcus, you know, and Mason, I got to get turned on to some of your work, but, you know, and it's just still funny to me that people still feel that way. You know what I'm saying? That a black story in its authenticity is compromised commercially because it's all black. And I don't think that. Not in this post Black Panther, post Get Out era. You know what I'm saying? So, anybody got any last comments on that? We're approaching an hour. I know Keith only joined us for 40 minutes, but everybody else, we've been rocking 53 minutes. So, anybody else got any comments on that? I see you, D. Matthews. Shout out.
Well, yeah, I want to say, like, for example, with Black Panther, part of the reason why that was successful is because, you know, it didn't go out of its way to offend anybody. It was like, hey, you know, this is a story about blacks in Africa who had advanced technology, and that was pretty much it. And from that, you get the story.
Well, maybe the claps in the theater when Killmonger said his plan, that might have been offensive, right?
Yeah, you know, but again, though, but you understood where he was coming from. It wasn't
right.
You know, I think my comments were more based upon, you know, oftentimes where I see like all black comics, it's always like, you know, we have to say that, you know, the black character is always good, the white character is always evil. And you know, and back to your comment, you know, we should try to offend white people. And if we do that, but you know, I always say, you know, flip it around. If you had a white character say, hey, you know what? My book is going to offend black people. You know, characters in my book are going to be all white and all the bad guys are going to be black. How many black people are going to buy that book? Probably not a lot. I wouldn't buy that book. And honestly,
yeah, That's what we've been watching in Hollywood for years.
Or whatever cast anyway. Like, this doesn't really interest me all that much. But I'm saying though, you have to think about who you want to buy this book. Now, if you want only a certain group of people to buy your book, it's a totally different argument. But if you're trying to do like, you want a wide audience for your material, you got to be careful who you're purposely trying to offend, if that's what you're doing. Again, if you're telling your truth, that's something totally different. I mean, if your story happens to offend somebody, that's a totally different discussion. Again, my comments on that was like, hey, if we're not offending white people, then we're not doing our job as black critics. I'm like, that's not a good way to go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marcus, it's about tone and intent.
Go ahead, Keith. Take it away.
It's definitely about tone and intent. Like, I teach at Florida Memorial University, and during my chapter on writing,
shout out to Miami.
Shout out to the mighty Roaring Lions.
You're Florida too, Wade?
Flow Mo.
Yeah, Flow Mo.
Yeah, my daughter went to Flow Mo for a couple of years. Anyway,
praying for y'all.
Thank you, man. Three of the rules that I really, really, really embed in my students is that you write what you know, write your experience. You write unapologetically. Don't think about commercially like what's going to be acceptable.
Yes.
You just write your truth, write unapologetically, and write with intent and tone. When you write with intention and tone, one, is it a sad story? Is it a slow burning story? Whatever it is. And then at the end of the day, like, what's your last act of your either it's film or a novel. Your last scene is going to be the most impressionable scene. Like, people are going to walk away from your stuff with this. So that's intention. What are you writing with? What intention do you have for your writing? Do you want people to be hopeful? Do you want people to be inspired? Do you want people to be sad? Do you want people to be thoughtful and walk out of the theater thinking about something? Right, with intention. So you can definitely see intention in somebody's writing. You can see the theme throughout. Like, oh, does this person want us to hate people? You can feel it. You can see it, and it's not. It's intentional. You know what I'm saying? So write with intention and tone.
Yeah, right. I have to. Marcus, I echo Keith's sentiment in that you have to write truthfully. You have to write your truth, and if a person is going to be offended, they're going to be offended anyway. Right. One of the most powerful books that I ever read is 100 Years of Lynching. And it's actually not a book written by an author, but it's a compilation of newspaper articles of detailing the lynchings in America from 1865 to 1965. Just a compilation of news, and it's all truth. The book is so powerful and so offensive to those who would be offended that they won't read it. But the power in the book lies in the truth of the book. Because as I said, this isn't something that an author actually sat down and wrote, but it's a compilation of actual newspaper clippings that have been compiled together from 1865 to 1965, detailing the lynchings of blacks in America.
Yep. Wow.
So you have to do the truth. That the expression "the truth hurts" came from somewhere. It's a fact. The truth hurts. So those that's going to be offended are going to be offended. There's nothing you can do to prevent their offense. And if you write limiting yourself to trying not to offend, then not only are you not writing your truth, but you're probably not going to be good at whatever it is you're trying to write because you're too big. The thought of not being offensive is going to be prevalent in your mind.
I agree.
Well, let me say this, guys. I want to thank you all. This was supposed to just be a test between us, and we gave a really good conversation. I don't remember anybody doing this. Black horror writers, Black sci-fi writers. So we'll probably go down as the first, especially during this quarantine of brothers getting together just to kick it. It's been a pleasure. Mason, just to let you know, when we do these monster panels, Marcus and Keith will tell you, we really don't ever finish talking about a topic. We really just stop.
We just move on to the next thing.
So if anybody's watching this and you're looking for some type of resolution, you're not going to get it. All we're going to do is just advance our own, like Marcus makes me think, Captain Wade makes me think, you made me think. I hope somebody was inspired to think by something that I said, but that's really all we do, you know. So I want to thank you all to be a part of it. My last on what you said, Keith, was I like what you said. I would do the same thing you did, Marcus. I'm echoing what Keith said, you know, and because I think it just separates the intention. You know? So I come around to that. I'm going to show this video to the creator that I was talking to, and I want to hear what he has to say. Just on what you said, Mason, alone, I want to play him your part. So I thank you guys. Keith, when I do this again, I'll send out some questions. Mason, you're welcome to be a part of as many people as I can get into this room. Marcus, I'm going to try to figure out, because you know me, I like to record everything. So I'm trying to find a way to record this video. If I got to take it off of Facebook, I'll take it off of Facebook. But other than that, this platform worked out, and see if we can do it again. Maybe sometime this week. All right. And then I'm going to write some horror stuff, and we come up with some good answers. So thank you guys, and everybody that's been watching. I'm not in all of the watch parties. I see Patrick D joined in. But thank you out there in the virtual audience, and guys, enjoy your quarantine.
Y'all stay safe, man.
You all stay safe.
All right. No closing, but that's it, man. Love you guys. Peace out.
Peace.